May 23, 1994, Gunfight with Gonzalez. I'm writing from the future, so I can only approximate the date as being May 23rd of 1994. I awoke on December 9th of 2019, thinking about Don and his shootout with our neighbor Gonzalez. I don't know if it was Alex Gonzalez or his old man, but they had a pack of dogs that ran wild and killed a bunch of our chickens. Don had several shouting matches with Gonzalez over the repeated killings at the 4-foot-high hog wire fence on the far western boundary of Easy Street, which was then 40 acres. This time Don was shooting at the dogs and Gonzalez, who had come about halfway across his 10 acres toward Don. The Gonzalezes were shooting back. It was a real Hatfields and McCoy situation by now. I got to wondering how they never managed to actually hit each other. I always thought of Don as being a good marksman, but I don't know why I thought that. I can't ever remember seeing him shoot at anything and hit it, now that I really try to think about it. It reminds me of an accidental shot that happened in our home. We were undressing for bed when Don dropped his jeans to the floor. He'd forgotten to take the Derringer from his pocket first. It was usually in his sock. The impact on the tile floor caused the gun to discharge a bullet into the mirrored wall of the bedroom, where it ricocheted off. We stood there, frozen in silence, and then laughed hysterically to cope with the gravity of the situation. In 1999, our bedroom would become the closet when I moved back in, but the bullet chip is still in the glass, and it's there by the door to the bedroom closet to the master bathroom, as a reminder of how uncertain life can be. One person who was a crack shot was my father. As I ran the reels of memories of shootings at the sanctuary, they almost all involved snakes. Rattlesnakes, the dreaded, aggressive pygmy rattlers, and water moccasins. As development came in around us, the snakes all moved to the cover of our natural areas provided, and the water snakes loved our lake. Dad hated snakes and would always say the only good snake is a dead snake. I inherited a healthy respect for them, and as I became more surrounded by animal lovers, I would go to great lengths to determine if a snake was a threat to the cats or not, before exterminating the ones that could kill our cats. I think the biggest rattler my father ever killed on Easy Street had to be 6 feet long or more. It was big enough to swallow a bobcat whole. I remember one day in the early 2000s, a water moccasin was in the pool belonging to one of the circus tigers. Dad and I had chased it out of the pond to the very tight space between the walls of the tiger cage and the pond and the spillway. Now, we had an excited tiger to watch out for and an angry snake. Determined not to let it get away, Dad took a stab at it with the dull-bladed shovel he'd grabbed when he saw the snake, but in the soft ground it just pinned the snake down without cutting it in half. The other half was now mad as all get out and was striking back toward my father. As it struck again and again, the only tool I could find nearby was a pair of limb loppers, and I was clumsily chopping the air, trying to get those small curved blades around the neck of the snake. I've seen snakes who were cut in half continue to strike, so I couldn't take the easier shots closer to where the snake was pinned. I had to get the head because one bite to my father could be fatal, and the snake was striking far too close to his hands and legs. Finally, the satisfying snap around the neck. After the head and body had stopped flopping about, Dad and I had a moment of shared admiration for our teamwork on that one. I remember another day, back in the 90s, when a rattler was coiled and striking the air between itself and a serval who was determined to catch it. My father only had a small handgun on him and no time to go after something more substantial. He had fired a couple of shots from outside the cage wall, but couldn't land a shot on the striking head of the snake, so to get a better angle, he deftly slipped in his right hand through the cage wall and then the gun through the adjoining space in the wires, and then grabbed the gun and extended his arm as close to the face and fangs of the snake as he could and fired. The snake dropped dead, and the serval walked away in a huff. It had happened in the blink of an eye, but I've held those images in my mind all these years as just one more piece of evidence that my father truly loved these cats like I do. He was willing to risk his life to save theirs. Love you, Dad. I miss you.